Yes, what's going on, everybody? It is Thursday afternoon. I am so late getting out my breakdown for this week, but it's that kind of a week, you guys. I think you all understand. If we look at the Tapology card here for the UFC Fight Night, let me go through all of the cancellations that we have had for this card. Whittaker versus Chimaev canceled, and in steps Ikram Aliskerov. We have Shara Magomedov was supposed to fight Ihor Peterier. Peterier withdrew. Then Shara Magomedov was supposed to fight Joyalton Luterbach. Luterbach gets pulled because he did juice 3 months ago, in his words. He did 3, so he pissed hot for juice. He's not fighting. And in steps Antonio Trocoli for Luterbach now, and this is Shara Magomedov's third opponent. Trocoli was supposed to fight Aliskerov last week in Vegas. Aliskerov was pulled from the fight to save the main event of this card. Now the guy that he was supposed to fight is saving one of the prelim fights on this card. Said Nurmagomedov versus Montel Jackson, canceled. Mohamed Naimov versus Belsic Baghdasaryan. Baghdasaryan has to pull out with a torn labrum. Abu Asatar withdraws against Denis Tialulin. Who cares? But then Tialulin's given a new opponent in Cedriques Dumas. Cedriques Dumas, for some reason, can't get a visa. What is happening in this country? Thanks, Joe Biden. You know, one of your upstanding citizens can't even get a visa to a place like Saudi Arabia where he's going to be very well received. Come on. So that happened too. Farid Basharat versus Montel Jackson, canceled. Oh my God. It's been a miserable card. We've had so many fights switched around. I've researched so many fights that aren't happening. I've written up so many fights that aren't happening. And it's just been an absolute mess. I can't wait for this card to be over with. And now next week we have the Cursed Connor card, because of course he's not going to show up for that. So it's been rough. There's been a lot of replacements, but we're going to take you through the fights this week. Thank you guys for hanging out live, my Patreon people, the people who support me. I appreciate each and every one of you. You're the one that makes this possible. I'm going to try to post just a tip to YouTube later on tonight. I'm also going to be on Monk's show, Bankroll or Bust. So keep an eye out for Bankroll or Bust. That'll be posted to YouTube later on tonight on Monk Maddox's YouTube channel. And right now, yeah, I mean, I'm ready to break down these fights. Let me share my screen with you guys here. Yeah, these are all the canceled fights. Look at that. Whittaker Chimaev, Magomedov Peterier, Nurmagomedov Jackson, Naimov Baghdasaryan, Asatar versus Tialulin, Magomedov versus Luterbach, Basharat versus Jackson, Dumas versus Tialulin. So we still do have right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights. So we got 11 fights to break down here. Last week was a great week, you guys. My DraftKings lineup won me like 12 or 13 units. We had a 6.16 unit win last week. Hit the Brady Heastand money line at plus 170 for 1 unit. Hit the Josephine Knutson money line for 3.5 units, 2.5 here, and then 1 down here in a parlay where the other leg was Tagir Ulanbekov, so it wound up just becoming a straight bet. We had a parlay with the Knutson Pilastri over 2.5 rounds, parlayed with the Weston Wilson Jaka Sergei under 1.5 rounds that hit for 1 unit. And we had Brady Heastand to win in round 3 for a 1/4 unit at plus 2,400. That brought us 6 units. But the big pain was 3.2 unit loss on Jimmy Flick, Nate Maness under 1.5 rounds. I love that spot. I didn't know that Nate wasn't going to try, that he was just going to pop a jab and not try to finish. But it is what it is. Flick almost finished. And if Flick had gotten that submission, that shoulder choke at the end of round 1, this would have been a 13-unit win for me this week. So feel like we're starting to bust out here. You know, we just broke a 2-week losing streak where we lost 2.71 and just under a unit. So we lost about 3.7 units, but we got 6.16 back. And prior to that 2-week losing streak, we had put together 4 or 5 winning weeks in a row. So feel like we're just finally starting to get this going now. We've been stuck in the mud for a little bit, but having a breakout week last week was really important. And now we're going to be looking to put it back to back here, get a winning week this week. But this is a tough week, you guys. Like we mentioned here, there's a lot of fights that have been canceled. There's a lot of late notice opponents. There's a lot of fights. There's 3 fights right now that are basically right at a pick 'em. So it's kind of a greasy card. A lot of people making long trips to fight here. And a lot of these people that are making long trips to fight in Saudi Arabia are doing so in short notice at different weight classes even. So this is going to be a rough one here this week, but I think if we tread lightly, I think if we let the data be our guide, match it up with our stylistic reads, that we can find some value. And I am going to talk about some value that I found this week, and we're going to talk about it in every single fight. But thank you guys for hanging out with me live here this Thursday afternoon. Let's break down these fights. Let's start with the very first fight of the night. Oh, no. What the fuck am I talking about? I got all you guys here in the chat. I got to say what's up to my guys, Olajuwon Dream saying, oi. I got Beaver Covington saying, yo, can we hurry the fuck up or what? Yeah, dude, I'm always late. You know that, Beaver. Always late. The UFC picture kind of sus. Ikram looking like he's ready to lose it all to kiss Robert. I mean, I don't know what to do with that, brother. I don't think he wants to do that. I don't think that's in Ikram's soul. Mr. Wipeout 2008 saying, when does the greasy 4-leg parlay come out? It's going to come out tomorrow, you guys, after the weigh-ins. I will put it together. I'll go live on YouTube to give that out. The greasy 4-legger hit as well last week. So I won like 12 units on DraftKings. I won like 3.04 units on the greasy 4-legger because it came out to plus 608. I put a half unit on that, and then 6 units tracked, a little bit more than that. So yeah, it was over 20 units this week. So a really good week between all the things that I gambled on. So greasy 4-leg parlay, we're going to try to make it 2 in a row. I really like what I've got. I've got 3 legs kind of set in stone right now for that. And the 4th leg is something I want to find something maybe just with a little bit of plus money that can fatten up these lines a little bit. But anyway, yes, tomorrow after weigh-ins, look out on YouTube for the greasy 4-leg parlay. And we got Remdog in the room saying, oi, what's up, Weezy in chat? What's up, Remdog? Good to see you hanging out in here. We got Juan Chavez in the room saying, oi. And we got Dims in the room saying, oi. And we got Dix Insider in the room. Prophet Weezy, I'm on my way into work right now, but I'll be in here in the chat supporting. Appreciate you, Dixon. Always good to see you hanging out in here. We got Kristen in the room saying, oi. We got Jenna Marie in the room saying, oi, Uncle Weezy. We got Litz in the room. Oi. You guys are killing it with the ois. Olajuwon Dream saying they better find Gastelum a percentage of his purse for changing weight classes fight week. Otherwise, that's some BS. Yeah, Fat Gastelum did it again, you guys. He tricked us. He got down to 170 once, and then he said, I'm going to keep doing this, and then he shows up and he can't even make 180. It's incredibly unprofessional. It's just such a Bush League move. I'm really surprised, frankly. Poor Daniel Rodriguez, ready to cut weight, ready to make weight, and this fat fuck shows up 15 pounds heavy, saying that he can't. And Olajuwon Dream is in the room saying, I'm so mad Shara Luterbach is off. I was looking forward to catching some plus money unders. Funny story, Olajuwon Dream. In the Patreon, I was just putting a bet out where I had kind of evened it so that I made a 1-unit bet at plus 145. And it was like a violence bet where it was either Shara to win by KO or Joelton to win by submission. And I put those two together, got plus 145 for that bet. And then just as I posted in the Discord, they're like, Weezy, fights off. So that was my first bet of the week. And that bet got canceled just as I was making it and just as I had finished writing up that fight. yeah, that level of unprofessionalism pisses me off. And yeah, I mean, why wouldn't it? I mean, like, and then you're making that long trip too. And I know that that's part of it. Obviously, cutting weight on a plane can't be much fun to try and do. But this guy wasn't even fucking close to making 170. Not even close. Yeah, he can't stay off the damn tacos. I'm sure. I had some tacos the other night. I see why he can't stay off them. Tacos are delicious. So, I feel for these fighters that have to constantly be cutting weight because they can't, like they put their body through hell, and food is fuel. So it's like you're putting your body through hell without giving it the fuel that it needs in order to perform at the highest possible level because of the nasty weight cutting. So it's wild what these guys put themselves through to make weight and fight for our entertainment, you guys. Robert saying this card is cursed and so will all of our bets. Get refunds and regroup for UFC 303. I hear you, brother. I really hear you on that, because I am going to keep it small this week. Yeah, all things considered, I'm so surprisingly impressed by the UFC's ability to recover and repair several of these fights. Well, I mean, like, they shouldn't even be going to Saudi Arabia in the first place, but they did, right? And because they did, these are some very, very rich people that you're trying to impress there in Saudi Arabia. They have fuck you money stacked up to the ceilings of their palaces. So, when you bring the card there, you can't just be like, hey, sorry, all you sheiks. There's only going to be 8 fights, and a lot of them are going to be low level because a lot of people are just unprofessional. They didn't show up on weight. Some weird shit happening. So I think this is when you want to have a little more heavyweight fights, because they always show up on weight. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's Gastelum pulling that, man. We got Daz Files in the room saying, thanks, Weezy. What's up, Daz Files? Good to see you hanging out. We got Rem Dog saying the canceled fights almost look like a card itself. Yeah, man, for sure, dude. We got oh yeah, I'm here, but I fell asleep and I didn't see the live prop show on Patreon. Well, the link is on the Patreon, brother. So we've got I think I even have it up here. This is Propability. We did it last night. Saudi Arabia prop betting background, or prop betting breakdown, and we came up with a bunch of plus EV spots that we like for the card. So check out Propability, and I will post. Oh shit, I got to post those show notes to the Patreon, you guys. But yeah, we did Propability already this week. It's a tough week, man. It is a very tough week. So, but you can go check that out, Broke Degen, on the Patreon. We got Benino saying, "What's up, Weezy?" And he's saying these edibles are hitting harder than Pavlovich. Dogfather saying 20 unit week. Congrats, that's awesome. I don't even think I risked 20 units this month. Oh, I got lucky because I hit my lineup that I put on the on Gordo's tournament, the year-long Ironman tournament. That one was second place in the Ironman this week, and it was like 547 points. So I've risked less than a unit and made 12 just because of how high the lineup scored. So I didn't really risk that many units, I don't think. But just sometimes it all comes together like butt cheeks, and you hit a plus 2,400 on a quarter unit, and then, but like if Nate Maness would have tried, or if Flick would have gotten that submission at the end of the first round, it would have been an even bigger week. We can't wait to go to the Sphere with UFC Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler in September. Is that what's going to happen? Are they saying, is Conor pretending that he's going to fight in September now? Jesse on Fire said that they did this all on purpose to make that fight happen then, because they were going to get hosed on the finances. Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, at this point, Conor's not really a fighter. He's just a draw, I mean, like, I don't think people really care about him as a, like, he's not a legit title contender, Love that bet, says Olajuwon Dream. We got, it made no sense how Lutrabach Shara unders were plus money. I agree, man. Lutrabach 20 first round finishes, Shara 9 first round KOs out of his 10 total KOs. Yeah, for sure, man. I agree with you 100%. I love the violent spot there. It was my first bet of the week. We got There Will Be Blood saying, "What's up, brother? Oi, good to see you hanging out in here." Lutrabach just also got finished by a 5-3 dude in December. Yeah, I know, man. I know. Did you see they rebooked Cedriques for Abu Dhabi in August? I did see that. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. We got real fight picks in the room saying oil money. Yes, and that is correct. They got the oil money there. Saudi Arabia in the summer is brutally hot. Wonder how it affects fighters weighing in. Yeah, dude, I wonder how it affects anybody that's never been there, because everything you hear about, like Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, is that it is just crazy fucking hot. Just absolutely smoking hot and dry. So people aren't, even when you go to Vegas, you notice it like on your skin. You could write your name on your skin and you're like, what the hell is going on? I'm so dry. You go out there, you triple it. It's just that much worse. So yeah, I mean, it can't. I'm sure it's affecting almost everybody, Robert, just because nobody's from there. Nobody's from there unless you're like one of these guys that's training over in Bahrain or KHK, or if you're training in Abu Dhabi or Dubai or something like that, that's different. But most of these people are training in Russia or the United States or Brazil or Europe. So I think it's gonna affect everybody. It's only 115 degrees there. Jeez. We got Oi Weezy says Muhammad I'm Ard Bruce Lee, saying the artist formerly known as Pete G in the room. What is up, dude? He's got brick on this. I love it. Benito saying crazy that putting one unit on a round 3 can win you 25. Round props the way to go. Fuck these judges. Yeah, well, especially if they finish inside the distance, they get the judges out of there, and that's when we like it. We got Olajuwon Dream saying, I hope McGregor Chandler happens at the Sphere, but I thought Dana came out and said that wasn't going to happen. He might have. I don't know. But like they might be trying to put that card, put that fight on the Sphere card. I mean, anytime Conor McGregor is going to be a massive draw wherever you do it. So, I think that maybe they will try to do that. Will I cover some prize picks props today, says Marco Sandoval. I don't have a play yet this week, but the one prop I did like was the Xiao Long under 59.5 significant strikes. This fight is going to be a grappling heavy pace. And like, if you can see the screen up here right now, you could see that 3.76 significant strikes are landed per minute in this division. So 3.76 times 15 would put the average decision fight at about 55 significant strikes. We have 4.67 significant strikes land per minute at distance, but only 2.17 significant strikes land in the clinch and on the ground. So if you could find fights that have high significant strike totals where you foresee there being a high probability of a lot of control time positions, it sets up nice for an under. And if you were to look at Uncle Weezy's tits metric, you would probably find that 59.5 significant strikes is less than the divisional average in terms of what's landed per fight. So, I think it's a big nut to cover, especially in a grappling heavy pace where a guy like Chang-Ho Lee is out there spamming takedowns and trying to wrestle as much as possible. So Xiao Long under 59.5 significant strikes, my favorite prize picks play of the week. Trocoli by sub, no, he would have to win a fight if he were going to get a submission. Longest day of the year today, folks. Happy summer solstice. Let's go. Sup, gentlemen, says Glenbach. Good to see you hanging out in here. Trocoli is freaking massive. How the hell does he make middleweight? Yeah, I don't know, but he used to make lightweight. Trocoli is a lightweight, not a middleweight, not a light heavyweight. This guy was fighting Jacob Volkman back in the day and Diego Lima, or maybe it was at welterweight, but yeah, dude, he's a pretty big dude, but that's because he took a lot of steroids. So yeah. First time in Vegas was a trip. It's a different kind of heat, dry like an oven versus a swamp, humid, and New York City heat. And it's the same in Chicago here, Robert. We got the lake, so it gets really humid by the lake for sure. It does happen. It does make too much sense for that fight to happen at the Sphere. It does, yeah. Magomed over 24.5 says Real Fight Picks for the significant strikes. Prince of Bahrain, KHK, is the best Muslim in the world, says Broke Degen. Yeah, His Excellence Sheikh Khaled. What is his name? Let's see. I think I would have it in the Magomedov write-up. No, it wouldn't be the Magomedov write-up. It would be the guy who trains at KHK, the other Magomedov. Let me see here. Let's see. Yep. Magomed Gadzhiyasulov is the one who trains at KHK. And it is His Excellency Sheikh Khaled bin Hamad Al Khalifa. That is the founder of that KHK team. Naimov Lima over 11.5 minutes is good too. That worries me. I think Naimov might be able to finish Lima, but I could see it going over. But Naimov does have a lot of power. DK is under 60.5 total significant strikes for Xiao. Worth a look. I like it. Xiao did land a lot of significant strikes in those road to UFC fights, in grappling heavy paced fights, but a lot of times, you know, the statisticians over there are much different, and they will kind of like trump up those totals to make it look like the fights were more exciting than they were. Interesting. At a 6.5, 6'5" lightweight, 6'5" welterweight. He was fighting at welterweight back in the day. If you look over here, Trocoli, he had all these fights. Barbosa was at middleweight. Diego Lima was at welterweight. Jacob Volkman, welterweight. Wendell Oliveira, welterweight. But this was back in 2016. And then he started taking all the steroids. He took all the time off, and then he got caught with the steroids. So, yeah, he's a big dude, though. Waiting on Unk shit. You do a Don, bruh. What up, Tyrone? Good to see you hanging out in here, man. We got Ikram is KHK. I think he is too. You're right about that. I think he is listed at KHK these days. Benino with the flapjacks. Wiz Khalifa says, is that a picture of Scarface behind you? Yes, it is. That is Tony Montana there. One of, you know, like he symbolizes the American dream. And then right below that, if you move the mic, there is a picture of Biz Marquee from the Biz Never Sleeps album with the big ring that says Biz on his hands. Rest in peace, Biz Marquee. But yeah, that's what I got behind me right there. Still massive for welterweight, yes. And Wendell, yes, the Wendell, that's right. That man right there, Wendell. He was a veteran, man. Looks like he took his share of steroids too, man. But anyway, let's 138 MMA saying, every time I watch your content, I'm just amazed by how deep your stat game goes. One might even call it balls deep, says my guy 138. Good to see you hanging out in here, my man. My man Tyler's got a great MMA channel over at 138 MMA. Check him out as well, you guys. All right, let's get down to work here. You guys know about the Patreon because you're already on it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So, yeah, Patreon, Dub Club, blah, blah, blah. You guys already support me, so I appreciate you for that. Zhao Long versus Chang-Ho Lee. So, we don't really have any stats on this fight, you guys. Neither one of these guys has fought in the UFC thus far, but I do have a write-up for the fight I'll read for you. So, this is the Road to UFC Bantamweight Tournament finale. The fight was originally supposed to take place in February, but Zhao Long had to pull out of the fight. Zhao Long is a 26-year-old fighter with a 26-7 career record, and he's won 17 of his last 18 fights from the year 2018 on. He's incredibly experienced for someone so young. Long has a 50% career finish rate. He's got 9 career wins by sub, 4 by knockout, and 13 by decision. He's an all-around fighter who has a brick for a head. He can wrestle to win minutes, and he's a very experienced fighter for somebody who's so young. Xiao won a razor-close split decision over Shohei Nosei. He was a plus 125 underdog in the first round of the tournament, and then he won a majority decision over Shua Kamibuko, and that was as a plus 125 underdog as well. To secure his place in the final. So 2 very close fights for Zhao Long, but against 2 grappling heavy opponents. So he should be pretty well prepared for an opponent like Chang-Ho Lee here, who describes his fighting style as the Korean Khabib, and he definitely loves those grinding, grappling heavy type fights. Lee's 30 years old. He's 9-1 as a pro, and he's got a 67% finish rate with 1 win by submission, 5 wins by knockout, and he's 3-1 to the decision as a pro. Chang had a fantastic come-from-behind third-round knockout win over Xiao Dermisi on road to UFC. He was a plus 260 underdog in that fight, so he was definitely not expected to win there, and he wound up getting dominated pretty much for the first 2 rounds of that fight, but he hung in there, and he didn't let this guy get to the dominant positions and get close to finishing, and he gassed out, and Chang-Ho Lee still had a lot left in the tank and wound up finishing him in the 3rd round. And then he also made quick work of a bum named Rama Singh via 1st round ground and pound. He was a minus 350 favorite in that fight. So this fun road to see UFC bantamweight tournament final is priced as a pick'em. Zhao Long is 4 years younger. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage, and he's got the pro experience advantage with 23 more fights and 270 more minutes of cage time. So the strength of schedule advantage, I think, is pretty fair to say goes to Xiao as well. He's just been in there with the better brand of competition compared to Chang-Ho Lee. But Chang-Ho Lee is a relentless wrestler and grappler. Both of these guys are good wrestlers. However, it does seem to be Lee who prefers to be there and does more damage when he gets to dominant positions. Calling himself the Korean Khabib, Lee goes for takedowns, gets to dominant positions, and finishes with ground and pound. Lee's 5-0 to the knockout as a pro, and all of those KO wins come by way of ground and pound. And he has a submission win by key lock back in 2017. Lee's going to look to push the grappling here and try to do more damage while the fight is on the ground. Only 2 minutes and 7 seconds of Lee's 17.5 minutes of octagon time was spent at distance striking range. So I look for Chang to make this fight a grind. So it's an interesting bantamweight tournament finale here. Both of these guys are solid grapplers, but I think Zhao Long has shown more impressive defensive grappling skills, while Lee is more offensively inclined in the grappling exchanges. Lee has attempted 14 takedowns in his 2 road to UFC fights, and his fights have been in control time positions for over 73% of his total octagon time, while Xiao has only completed 2 takedowns in 3 combined. He's only completed 2 takedowns in 3 combined fights under the UFC banner. I don't think I think the striking exchanges slightly favor Long, but I don't think the fight spends much time at distance striking range. On the Long side, you're getting the guy who's 4 years younger, has a 1-inch reach advantage. He's way more experienced as a pro, and he's fought the tougher guys. Long is well prepared for a grappling heavy opponent like Lee after fighting Nose and Kamibuko in his road to UFC bouts, where he saw a combined total of 36 takedown attempts against, yet still found ways to allow only 7 takedowns in only 6 minutes of control time against in those fights. He won by split and majority decisions in those fights, so they could have went either way. They were very close fights. With Lee, you do get a hyper-offensive grappler who pushes a pace, finishes fights at a 2/3 clip, and all 5 of his knockout wins come by way of ground and pound. So we saw Lee get out-grappled by Xiao Upasi in his last road to UFC bout in the first 2 rounds, but he relied on his durability, his heart, his conditioning to earn the comeback 3rd-round ground and pound win as a massive underdog. I think Chang-Ho has the more dominant style, has a higher ceiling as a fighter, and finds ways to use his wrestling heavy pace and position over submission top control game to grind out a decision victory or a late finish to secure the win here. I like the overs in this fight as well due to both guys' solid grappling games, but I'm going to pick Chang-Ho Lee to win this fight by decision. I think he's the better prospect. I think he's got a lot more upside, and I think his style fits his strengths as a fighter very well. So I think that he's going to be the better wrestler, while Nose and Kamibuko were more submission grapplers looking to get that finish rather than kind of like grind out a lot of minutes in top control and landing a lot of ground and pounds. So, but it's probably going to be a pretty close fight, and these guys are fairly well matched. But I do think that the upside here comes with the Chang-Ho Lee side overall, and I'm picking him to win by decision. There we go. All right. Let's move on to this next fight, you guys. We have got, and this is a fun one with Gadzhiyasulov and Ribeiro here. Magomed Gadzhiyasulov right now is a minus 335 favorite. Brendson Ribeiro plus 275 is the underdog. Fight doesn't go to decision. Juice to the tits here at minus 800 for this fight. So this is going to be a really fun fight. Magomed Gadzhiyasulov is an undefeated Dagestani fighter who now trains and lives in Bahrain and is a member of the KHK MMA team that's funded and founded by His Excellency Sheikh Khaled bin Hamad Al Khalifa. Magomed is 8 wins and 0 losses as a pro so far, and he got his UFC contract off the strength of a 30-27 unanimous decision win over Jose Medina on Dana White's Contender Series as a minus 850 favorite. There's no way to put this lightly, though. Magomed has fought absolute trash cans so far. The combined pro records of his first 6 opponents is 3 wins and 15 losses. And in particular, the fights against Gennady Matvenko and Denis Gvozdev are absolutely hilarious to watch. It would have been more competitive if they just hung a heavy bag in the middle of the cage for Magomed to style on. The only 2 guys with a pulse Magomed has fought have been on the fighting pride of the proud nation of Algeria, Mohamed Saeed Malem, who he beat by unanimous decision in October of 2022, and then he beat Jose Medina from Bolivia on Dana White's Contender Series. Neither guy is UFC level, in my opinion, so this fight against Brendson Ribeiro will definitely be the toughest test of Magomed's career. Brendson is 27 years old. He's 15-6 as a professional, and he's 0-1 in the UFC so far. He's the former Shu-2 light heavyweight champion coming off a loss in his UFC debut back in February to Minyang Zhang by first-round KO as a small plus 100 underdog. He punched his ticket to the UFC, getting a first-round knockout win over LFA heavyweight champion Bruno Lopez, and he was a massive plus 380 underdog in that fight on Dana White's Contender Series. Brendson has finished 100% of his 15 pro wins inside the distance and has been finished in 5 of 6 pro losses. He's a killer-be-killed fighter with an average fight time of 4.5 minutes as a professional. Magomed is a sizable minus 350 favorite over Brendson at the moment. So Magomed is going to have the striking advantage in this fight. He's a flashy and technical striker. He does a great job of using his kicks to maintain distance. He mixes in the hands nicely, and he's 5 wins and 0 losses to the KO as a pro. I definitely see Magomed winning the minutes and moments at range in this fight, especially because I think Magomed is more durable, as Ribeiro has been knocked out in 3 of his 6 pro losses. And then the wrestling is definitely on Magomed's side, in my opinion, as well. He prefers to stand and strike, but he's also a solid wrestler who can get fights to the ground whenever he wants. He got 6 takedowns in over 6 minutes of control time versus Medina on Dana White's Contender Series, and all of his pro knockout wins do come by way of ground and pound. So Magomed is a very well-rounded fighter. Brendson Ribeiro, though, is 3 years younger than Gadzhiyasulov. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage here. He's got the pro experience advantage, 14 more fights, 60 more minutes of cage time, 2 more years as a professional. He's got the UFC experience advantage with 1 more fight. He's got finishing ability. I mean, this guy is a 100% finish rate in 15 pro wins, and that's 6 by submission, 9 by knockout. And he fights with a killer-be-killed style. So if you are a technical fighter who likes to get reads, set traps, maintain distance, Brendson could be a tough opponent due to his tendency to just get in there and brawl. And the strength of schedule advantage goes to Brendson as well. He's fought the much better level of competition as a professional. I mentioned before that Magomed's opponents have been about as low level as they come, while Brendson has 14 more fights and has fought some solid names on the Brazilian and Russian regional scenes. This is definitely a step up in competition for Magomed. I think Magomed by KO is definitely the most likely path for him here, as is Ribeiro, but sub for Ribeiro could be possible as well. Obviously, the UFC is trying to get the Bahraini-based fighter a win in Saudi Arabia, flying out a Brazilian who got flatlined in his UFC debut and has been finished in 5 of 6 losses to lose to the Middle Eastern-based fighter. Magomed does look to be the more skilled and technical fighter in this matchup. The striking is crisp and clean. His kicks are beautiful. The ability to wrestle and land solid ground and pound is definitely there. And he's still undefeated as a pro, and he'll be fighting in front of a very friendly crowd. I think Magomed probably has the minute-winning advantage everywhere due to the clean striking and solid offensive wrestling game. Magomed has all the measurables advantages. He's taller, he's longer, he's younger, he's way more experienced, and he's fought the much better brand of competition as a professional. If you really scrutinize Magomed's level of competition, you realize this money line is a bit out of hand. This guy has fought heavy bags, complete trash cans. And even though Ribeiro has been finished in 5 of 6 losses, he's been in there with a much better level of competition. And it's clear that he's also a competent and well-rounded fighter with an ability to finish fights with strikes or submissions. Brendson is 6-2 to the submission as a pro, while Magomed is only 1-0. So maybe if this goes to the ground, Brendson can give Magomed some problems by being the more aggressive submission grappler. I think this line should be a lot closer. There are still a lot of unanswered questions on Gadzhiyasulov, and I always find it concerning when fighters' records are protected on the regional scene and the management of the fighter seems to be terrified to let him fight anyone but hand-picked opponents who have a 0% chance of winning. Ribeiro has at least taken a ton of tough fights in his career and learned from them, win or lose. We don't know how Magomed looks against solid competition, and it's important to note that the only 2 opponents Gadzi had that had any experience or ability at all were guys he was unable to finish. So I think Gadji actually by decision at plus 700 or so, and the over 1.5 rounds are sneaky looks here because of the minute winning potential Magomed has in the grappling exchanges. Both of these guys will clinch up some. Both of these guys will wrestle some. So if they don't just go out there and swing dicks and they want to go and clinch up and they want to mix in the wrestling here, the underbettors might be very, very disappointed. But I got to tell you, it's just terrifying to bet an over in this fight, right? If we look at that over 1.5 rounds on my betting model, only 2 of 8 Gadzhiyasulov fights have ever went over 1.5 rounds. And those were the Medina fights and the guy Saeed Salem fight. But only 4 of 20 Brendson Ribeiro fights has ever been over 1.5 rounds. So 16 of his 20 fights have finished under 1.5 rounds. And when you watch this guy fight, he will just go in there and just start throwing. And he doesn't have a lot of concern for his own defense. And that's why he gets so many finishes, and that's why he gets finished so often. So as tempting as it is to say stylistically these guys might wrestle, if they don't, this fight is going to finish. But I just can't lay this much juice on it. It is a little bit crazy. Minus 800, fight doesn't go to decision. But I do think that Magomed Gadzhiyasulov gets the win here. And I'm going to just go out on a limb, and I'm going to pick him to win by decision, because I do think that Gadzhiyasulov, if this fight goes to full 15, he's just going to be given the decision because he's at home, so to speak. And they didn't bring Brendson Ribeiro in here to win this fight. If Brendson wants to win this fight, he's going to have to finish Magomed. And I think that might be difficult. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and take a long shot and say Gadzhiyasulov does not finish the fight, and he winds up winning it by decision. See what you hoes are saying in the chat here. Let's see. We've got Mr. D is in the room with the basketballs. Let's go, man. We got Beaver saying, I think Ribeiro could get it done, to be honest. Yeah, man, I think he's live here, dude. I agree with you. And ring a ding, ding, you guys. My guy Broke Degen, not just a Patreon supporter, but actually supporting a prime. Did I make this public? Did I make this public? I think I might have made this public. There's 60 of you live, and there's only 70 people on my Patreon. So, but thank you for the donation, Broke Degen. Appreciate you saying Connor fight guaranteed at Sphere. I went July 10th, 2021, 117 degrees. Jesus Christ, when Connor snapped his leg. Saw Rogan and Chappelle first show since COVID on July 8th. Made X posts about this with pics, and it's at Broke Degen 666. I follow him on Twitter. He's got a great account there. So go check out my guy Broke Degen. Follow him on Twitter and ring a ding ding, you guys. Thank you so much, Broke Degen, for the donation to the show. Much, much, much appreciated. I just realized I must not have made this private. I must have made this public. Anyway, this dude was getting pieced up by Jose Medina in round 3. That's rough, dude. But I wouldn't say he was getting pieced up, J-Bone. I would say that Medina should not have been there at that point. He probably should have been knocked out already. And he did lose some minutes to Medina there in round 3, but he wasn't quite getting pieced up. But yeah, man, this Gadzhiyasulov guy that was minus 500 earlier in the week. So you see why some money has come in on Ribeiro here. I think he is a live underdog this week. Desi saying, Weezy, have you heard of the MMA clown show? They put your boy Brady on blast, foul stuff. No, I haven't heard of that, man. I have not heard of the clown show. No. Real Fight Pick saying Brendson has no chance. Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, like it's tough to go into Saudi Arabia and be like the road fighter, so to speak. The hottest day in Vegas history. My God. We got Matthew Nazarian saying 7 shades of shit. And that is one of my favorite phrases to say, man. Weezy, I'm hearing the grapevine that it's pronounced Gadzhiyasulov. Gadzhiyasulov. Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not Gadzhiyasulov. Okay, we'll go with that. Gadzhiyasulov. Let's see here. I put 1 unit on the over 1.5 rounds on plus 180, hedged it with Brendson round 1. Okay. All right. I don't mind that because Brendson round 1's a big number, and that's when he gets almost all of his finishes. I believe 11 of his 15 finishes do come in round 1. I love that we're back to balls deep instead of just the tip. That's my style. And Chappelle would not let Rogan leave the stage and literally riff for an hour about how 20% of the crowd at most stayed. That would have been fun to see, man. Ribeiro glass cannon under feels good, unpopular take. No, I mean, yeah, he is a glass cannon, and that's the thing. He goes out there blasting like Yosemite Sam, so he's either going to clip you or get clipped himself. I do think there might be some wrestling here, but if there isn't wrestling, dude, this thing is definitely going under. J-Bone, no, he wasn't. What are you talking about? He fell off a cliff. He had nothing left. Well, I think he still won the round. Let's look and see. Let's see what the judges scored for that one. Gadzhiyasulov against the Bolivian heavy bag, Jose Medina, and it was 30-27 on all three cards. But yeah, it was a very close round. Gadzhiyasulov got 4 takedowns in 3 minutes and 28 seconds of control time, but the significant strikes was 39-7 in round 1 for Gadzhiyasulov, 23-5 in round number 2, but it was 12-11 in round number 3. So actually, Medina did have a much better third round than he had a first and a second. But he did get taken down 4 times and controlled for 3.5 minutes. That's 70% of the round. Let's see what he did at distance against him, though. Gadzhiyasulov still 9 of 22 at distance, 7 of 22 at distance for Jose Medina. Let's see here. Get stats back up there for you guys. All right. Riot Buddy saying he won 30-27 and looked minus 1,000. I mean, he did win that fight for sure. Not in round 3. He didn't, says J-Bone. He gassed fucking up Medina for 2 rounds and was fine. Ribeiro getting to sent to afterlife with hits Medina took. He's trash. Yeah, I know. It is public. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys get a free show this week. Welcome. I know it was weird. He's saying yes. Thanks for the free alpha, Weezy. Yeah, you got it. We love you. Yeah, it's public, Weezy. The masses appreciate you. The legendary Melon saying, Weezy, we love you. You're the man. I'm sorry, I'll Patreon now, says Dims. We got LJ saying he still won round 3. Yeah, and you are watching Balls Deep for free. Yes, you are, because I am an idiot and I made it. I put it out. You got to put it private if you want it just to go. And I only posted this on my Patreon, but I forgot to make it a private video. I must have made it a public video. Let's see. Olajuwon saying Clown Show is whack. Dude shits on cappers who had a bad week, but he doesn't post or say any of the plays he had. So whack. I've never heard of him. Don't say snout about the Clown Show, dude. Bitter nobody. What? Huh? Oh, don't worry about the Clown Show. Nobody. Bitter nobody. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, who cares? Okay, based on negative hit. Got it. Smash spot for Gene Silva, Weezy. Yeah, who does he got next? I think I do know that Gene Silva's fighting on the next card because I did the stats for it. J-Bone saying it's not so much about whether he won a round, it's just a big red flag. Yeah, he did slow down. He definitely did. You got action. I do not, dude. BKFC, no action. PFL, no action. Bellator, no action. Just being a content creator for the UFC is a full-time job for 52 weeks a year, pretty much. So yeah, man, I don't have the time to cap those fights. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next one. Kyung-Ho Kang at plus 142, going up against Muin Gafurov at minus 162. Fight doesn't go to decision for this fight at plus 125. Let's get these stats up here for you guys. There we go. AM, beautiful. All right, so Kyung-Ho Kang, 36 years old, 19-10 as a pro, 8-4 with a no contest in the UFC. He's won 5 of his last 7 fights, and he's coming off a unanimous decision loss to John Castaneda in November of 2023 as a plus 110 underdog. Before that, Kang strung together 2 straight wins, an impressive first-round club and sub win over Christian Quinones as a plus 125 underdog, and a 29-28 unanimous decision win over Danab Bakary as a minus 115 pick'em. Kyung is going to be fighting Muin Gafurov. He's the fighting pride of Dushanbe, Tajikistan. Tajikistan, stand up. Muin is 28 years old still, only very young fighter. 18-6 as a pro, and he's 0-2 thus far in the UFC. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights, and all 3 of those losses come under the UFC banner, 2 in the UFC and 1 on Dana White's Contender Series. He lost a close split decision to Chad Anheliger. He was a minus 450 favorite in that fight on Dana White's Contender Series back in September of 2021. Then he got 2 wins on the regional scene in LFA over Herbeth Sosa by second round KO as a plus 100 underdog, and a third round spinning back kick KO over Diego Silva as a minus 145 favorite. Those performances got him signed to the UFC. He made his UFC debut in June of 2023 and lost a unanimous decision to John Castaneda. He was a plus 115 underdog in that fight, and then he was submitted in the first round in October of 2023 by Said Nurmagomedov as a plus 190 underdog. Muin is currently a minus 142 favorite over the veteran in Ho Kang, who's a plus 122 underdog. All right. Kang is 2 inches taller. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage over Muin, so he's much bigger. He's much more experienced. He's got 6 more pro fights, over 2 more hours of pro cage time, and 5.5 more years as a pro fighter. He's also got the UFC experience advantage with 11 more fights and 145 more minutes of octagon time. Ho Kang is the minute-winning fighter, in my opinion, in this fight. He's a very well-rounded fighter. He finds the weakness in his opponent's skill set and he attacks it. On the feet, he's technical and defensively responsible and durable. He stays behind a crisp, accurate jab. He flashes power with a 4-to-1 knockdown ratio, and he's landing a knockdown on 0.7% of the significant strikes that he lands. In the grappling exchanges, he averages 1.9 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he gets his takedowns at a very impressive 57% clip. He has 68% takedown defense, and he outcontrols his opponent's 33.5% to 19.5%, winning 63% of the control time positions his fights are in. Kyung has 5 wins and 7 losses to the decision as a pro, but that's a lot better than Gafurov's 1 win and 5 loss record to the decision. So I'd say Kang is the more technically proficient fighter, capable of having a game plan that can bank rounds, win decisions, without necessarily having to rely on big moments. But Muin Gafurov is 8.5 years younger than Kyung-Ho Kang. That's statistically significant. He's also a southpaw. That's statistically significant. He's been the better finisher as a pro. 94% career finish rate in 18 wins. That's 7 submissions and 10 knockouts. When he's on the feet, he swings to take your head off. And when he's on the ground, he's very aggressive looking for submissions. He's got 4 wins by armbar, 2 by guillotine, and 1 by rear naked choke. So he's dangerous from the bottom as well as from top control. And the strength of schedule advantage is Gafurov, at least at the UFC level. Even though he's only had 2 UFC fights, Gafurov has fought really tough guys. While when you add up the UFC records of the 8 guys Kang has beaten, it's 17 wins and 30 losses at the UFC level. So not a lot of high level wins on Kyung-Ho Kang's resume. Both guys have fought a tough level of competition, so I wouldn't say this fight is a step up in competition for Gafurov. So the UFC's bantamweight division is capable of producing so many compelling fights, and this is definitely one of them. Kang's a veteran. He has nice measurables advantages, being 2 inches taller, having a 5-inch reach advantage. He's far more experienced overall and at the UFC level. And those measurables advantages allow him to be able to maintain distance behind a crisp jab. Kang is an opportunistic submission grappler. He's 4 wins and 0 losses to the submission in the UFC, and he's 12-1 to the sub as a pro. So if this fight does go to the ground and Muin makes a mistake, it could be a wrap. Muin, though, is 8.5 years younger. He's a southpaw. Those are nice on-paper advantages to have. He's the better finisher. His style is good optically because you always see him trying to land strikes that finish the fight or wrestle offensively to win minutes. Muin is durable. He pushes a pace, and he's always looking to land with bad intentions. So I'm surprised he hasn't done better in decisions as a pro. Kang is a very technical fighter. He wrestles sparingly but effectively. He's opportunistic with his submission attempts, and at distance, he uses his size, length, and jab to maintain distance and win minutes. The problem is Gafurov isn't going to let him be technical, maintain range, and make this a minute-winning contest. He's going to use his overhands to set up the entries on his takedowns, force Kang to grapple, and try to land the bigger shots on the feet. I really like the fact that Gafurov is younger, a better finisher, and fighting in front of a friendly crowd. Kang is crisp and technical, but I don't think he'll perform well in the type of grappling heavy brawl that Gafurov is going to bring. Both guys are extremely durable, so I see this fight going the full 15 minutes, but I see the fighting pride of Dushanbe, Tajikistan getting the job done here by winning minutes with his wrestling and landing the bigger shots on the feet. I'm picking Muin Gafurov to win this fight by decision, but I want to make a point here that I'm betting on Kyung-Ho Kang to win this fight by decision. So I got Kang by decision at plus 275, which you see here on my betting model. But 4 of Kang's 8 wins come by way of decision, but 1 of 2 Gafurov losses comes by way of decision. So it's about half of Kang's win condition is by decision. The other half is by submission. But these guys don't get finished very often. And you see Gafurov's decision at plus 175 You see Kyung-Ho Kang's decision at plus 275. But the problem is that Muin Gafurov is 1-5 to the decision as a pro, while Kang is 5-7, and he's 4-4 to the decision in the UFC. So he's just shown a bit more of an ability to win minutes at this level. So I think that this is going to be a close fight, but to suggest that Gafurov has that much more of a chance to win a decision than Kang does, I think is a little bit out of line. So even though I'm picking Muin Gafurov to win this fight by decision, I have a half unit bet on Kyung-Ho Kang to win by decision at plus 275. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. I have a bet on Gene Silva. Already missed the opener, though. He's got Jordan. All right, yeah, Jordan's a fun fight for him, man. Gene Silva, Jordan's going to be a really fun fight. I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see. Clown Show is a spineless C who is afraid to show his face or make picks of his own, but runs his mouth about guys like Brady who have a proven track record. Dude can kick rocks. Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of the guy. I don't care who he is, you know. And yeah, and if you don't even show your face, then, you know, I mean, I don't see how people are going to take you seriously. But yeah, either way, who cares about people like that? Dick's Insider saying, Weezy, I'm hearing everyone on Kang this week, but the line isn't flipping. Has it been closing? Let's look. Let's have a look, Dixon. So we'll just take a look at Kang. Oh, that's at why is Caesars there? They finally put Caesars on. Wow, okay. Caesars is now on fight odds. So the line went. He opened at plus 140, Dixon. It went to minus 115. So it sat there for a couple of weeks at like a pick'em. And then now the money's coming in on Gafurov, if anything. So a lot of the cappers might be on Kang. I'm picking Gafurov, but I like the plus 275 decision prop. I think this one goes to decision. And I think that Kang's height, his length, his experience, and his jab could be big factors in helping him win minutes here. So I figured I'd take a shot at the decision prop. With the cardio dynamic, Kang late round props are live. I think they could be, but I would go late submission props. Kang does have some good power, but you look at who Gafurov's been in there. He's been in there against some big hitters, dude. So I don't think he's going to get knocked out. Kang has never knocked anyone out at the UFC level, but he does have 4 submissions. And if he gets to the ground and gets to an opportunistic position, he definitely has the ability to finish. All right, let's move on to the next fight here, which is going to be Rinat Fakhretdivov at minus 350 going up against Danish Dynamite Nicolas Dalby at plus 285. The fight doesn't go to decision for this one at plus 135. So Rinat Fakhretdivov, 32 years old. He's 21-1-1 as a pro, and he's 3-0-1 so far in the UFC. He's been dominant so far, smothering his opponents with his wrestling and top control and landing big shots on the feet. Rinat fought at 185 for all but one of his regional scene fights, then made the move down to 170 for his UFC debut against Andreas Mihailidis. He won that fight by a dominant 30-26 unanimous decision as a minus 275 favorite. Then Rinat had another dominant unanimous decision win over Brian Battle as a minus 150 favorite. Next up was Kevin Lee, and Rinat shaved his ass inside of a minute via club and sub, and that was as a minus 200 favorite in that fight. So he really came through there. Then he had a draw against Elizu Zaleski dos Santos as a minus 370 favorite. So that was the only fight where he's really let somebody down. A fight where he dominantly won the first round, probably won the second, and then when was on his way to winning the third before getting dropped with a body kick and almost finished. That body kick cost him an easy decision win, and he was close to getting the finish in the first round. Rinat's fighting a scrappy veteran in Nicolas Dalby. Nicolas is 39 years old. He's 23-4-1 with 2 no contests as a pro, and he's 7-3-1 with a no contest in the UFC. Nicolas is on a 4-fight winning streak at the moment and has only lost 1 of his last 12 pro fights. Dalby is fresh off a second-round knockout victory over the 15-0 Gabriel Bonfim in Brazil as a plus 450 underdog. Before that, he won 3 straight decisions, a 30-27 against Muslim Salikov as a plus 160 underdog, a split decision win over Warley Alves as a plus 110 underdog, and a unanimous decision win over Claudio Silva, and he was a minus 240 favorite in that fight. Nicolas is currently a plus 275 underdog to Rinat Fakhretdivov, the minus 325 favorite. So Rinat is 7 years younger than Nicolas. He's going to be 1 inch taller. He's the better finisher. Rinat's got an 81% career finish rate compared to 47% for Dalby. Rinat flashes power on the feet. He's 6-0 to the submission as a pro, and he's never been finished in 23 pro fights. So Rinat is definitely a guy who can finish you early or outlast you with wrestling and top control. Rinat's going to have the power advantage here. He's got a 3-0 knockdown ratio in 4 UFC fights, while Dalby's is 1 knockdown 4 and 4 allowed in 12 UFC fights. So Rinat has serious power on the feet, and Dalby doesn't. And the wrestling and minute winning and the grappling exchanges is definitely that favor goes to Rinat as well. Rinat is averaging 4.2 takedowns per 15 minutes and allowing 0. He outcontrols his opponents 69.5% to 4.5%, winning 94% of the control time positions that his fights are in. He's 6-0 to the submission, and he has a solid gas tank and the high percentage offensive wrestling to win minutes on the ground. Nicolas Dalby has the overall experience advantage. He's got 7 more fights, almost 4 more hours of cage time in 3 more years as a pro. He's got the UFC experience advantage with 8 more fights, 2 more hours of octagon time, and Nick Dalby refuses to fuck off. He has never been finished as a pro. He always brings a fight, stays in your face, and wears you down by categorically refusing to fuck off. Dalby does allow 26% control time to his opponents and only has 60% takedown defense, but he does have a solid get-up game, excellent conditioning, and a heart as big as a truck. So if you don't bring the kind of gas tank to push the pace you want to against this guy for the full 15, he can wear on you and put it on you late. And the strength of schedule advantage goes to Nick Dalby as well. He has much more experience at the UFC level. Therefore, he's fought the better brand of competition as a professional over the long term. I love this fight. Dalby's a sizable underdog at plus 275, yet he's fresh off a performance where he went into Sao Paulo, Brazil, fought an undefeated 15-0 Brazilian fighter as a plus 450 underdog, and he not only won that fight, but he broke Gabriel late in the second round of that fight. This time he's going to Saudi Arabia at 39 years of age and fighting the very dominant Rinat Fakhretdivov in front of a hostile crowd as a massive underdog once again. Rinat has been so good. Outside of the last minute and a half of the Zaleski fight, he has been dominant. He lands huge shots on the feet. He does a great job of using his striking to set up the entries on his takedowns, and he can win minutes with his wrestling in dominant and suffocating fashion. I think he's the rightful favorite here, but if he falls off, if he can't get the finish and goes into the third round gassed against Nicolas Dalby, Allah help him, because that is a bad, bad place to be. Dalby never gives up. He never fucks off. He can win minutes at range and in the clinch, and he gets better as the fight goes on. That being said, Rinat is way more skilled at winning minutes with his wrestling and moments with his striking. I not only think he wins this fight, but I think Rinat Fakhretdivov will be the first guy to officially finish Nicolas Dalby. Rinat is a stud, and I think he shows out in Riyadh in front of his fans, and I'm picking Rinat Fakhretdivov to win this fight by first round knockout. All right. All right, sweet. Let's move on here. All right. We got Volkan Ardich in the room saying, Oh, what is up, Volkan? The Dogfather saying have Gafurov at Pick'em -110. I haven't heard anyone advocate for Muin. Maybe seeing the line move soon. Yeah, that's a great line at a Pick'em because I think he's got the wrestling upside. I think he's the more powerful striker because he just throws with reckless abandon. And he is in Saudi Arabia. He is a Muslim, so the crowd is going to be rooting for him. Might sway the judges a little bit, and I see that fight going to decisions. So, yeah, I have no problem with that play. Volkan asking, what do I think of this lock parlay of Haqparast and Pavlovich? I'm picking them both to win, but I don't like the price on Haqparast. Jared Gordon is a guy who is going to make that fight close, and his distance striking numbers are surprisingly good, surprisingly efficient. So I do think that Haqparast wins by decision, and I think Pavlovich gets a first round knockout. But I would rather have parlayed Pavlovich with my guy Rinat Fakhretdivov here. But man, Nicolas Dalby is pretty scary too. We got Clark H in the room saying President Weezy, hashtag vote for Weezy. Let's go. Let's turn this shit around and put me in charge so that I can finally be corrupt for once in my life. I've always wanted to be a corrupt politician. Honestly, I think I would never do it, but think about that life, right? Everybody is just lining up, trying to get favors from you. And you're a corrupt politician, so you have favors to give. And all these meetings where you meet with these shady pricks who are trying to get that city money in their pockets, all these meetings, they all take places at steakhouses. All the steaks are cooked medium rare to rare. They're cooked in butter. They're seared on the outside. They're soft as butter on the inside. We got some mashed potatoes, maybe some au gratin potatoes as a side, maybe some green beans, a nice martini maybe. And you sit there, you have your steak. What can you do for me? That would be the question that I would always ask. I'm taking a chance giving you this contract, this city contract for this work. What are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for, because I'm here to help the people. I'm here to help the people. And yeah, I'm going to give you this contract and all this money's going to go to you and you're going to keep it all and whatever. And, but what are you going to do for me? See, yeah. So, it's my turn. I need to be a corrupt politician. XND 287 saying Rinat should smoke him, but Dalby is a tough SOB. And you are absolutely correct about that. I'm kind of feeling Kang 2 and 3 club and sub. I'm going to be looking at the Kang 2-3 sub props if I could find something really fat. But I think I was looking at them right before Showtime. Oh, and I was also looking at Chang-Ho Lee KO 2-3. It's 1,400 and 2,200. But Kyung-Ho Kang submission round 2 plus 1,600 on DraftKings. Submission round 3 plus 2,500 on DraftKings. I don't mind that at all. My man. Get the stats back up on the screen for you guys. All right. We got, club and sub. Yes. Rinat will absolutely win, but don't finish Dalby. Yeah, nobody's ever finished Dalby, but Rinat hits so hard. I'm thinking it might happen this time. He's 39 years old. He's been through so many wars, but man, Dalby is so tough. He's got so much heart. I'm a big Nick Dalby fan. Clark H asking if I seeing any trifecta props. Yeah, I'll give you guys one when we get to the Johnny Walker fight. LJ saying they say Dalby never been finished, but Jesse Ronson would disagree. Yeah, Ronson pissed hot in that fight, but he knocked him out in the first round. Yes, sir. Elijah saying Rinat fire. Let's go. Rinat KO 1-2 says Dogfather at plus 650. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that, Dogfather. That's a good look. I came here to hear you say, oi, and break down fights. I'm good, thanks. Hope you're good too, man. Good to see you, Volkan. Saying, all right, thanks. I will also do that. Rinat was my third option for lock of the week. There you go, man. Corrupt politician is redundant, says Gus B. And I think that that's perfect. I think, yeah, it's just politician, because they're all corrupt. Absolutely. I think Haqparast will shave Gordon's ass. Haqparast is a good fighter. We're going to see, though. I think that fight could play out close, man. You also have forced photos taken of you that you don't want taken. Yeah, it's a politician. That is for sure. There's no question. And the devil waiting for you. Yes, the devil will be there. We got Appletinis are the deal closers. Appletinis. Let's celebrate this contract with a green drink. Let's go. And ring a ding ding, you guys. My guy Jeff K, I believe a Chicago guy, with the $19.99 donation. Truly appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you so much for the generous donation to the show, supporting the show. It means so much. I was supposed to do this for just my Patreon members, but evidently I made this a public stream, so you guys all get to benefit this week as well. And let's keep breaking down these fights. But thank you. Ring a ding ding, you guys. Jeff K, $20 donation to his Uncle Weezy, keeping the lights on here in the studio, keeping my dog Maceo fed. Love you, Jeff. Thank you so much. Omni Genocide saying, Io, what do you got there? You got like an Ouroboros going there? What is that? And we've got Dixon saying, Weezy, if Rinat gets a 10-8 round 1, then Gaston loses 10-9 rounds 2 and 3, do we have a draw? That could happen. It happened the last fight, not exactly like that. Rinat was 10-9, 10-9, and then he lost 10-8 in the third. But yeah, man, it could happen, dude. Because Nick Dalby's been in draws before. He's had a draw before, and so is Rinat. Anyway, let's move on to this next fight. It is going to be Magomed Naimov versus Felipe Lima. So I'm going to put Naimov's stats on the screen, but I don't have any stats for Felipe Lima because he is never fought at the UFC level. But yeah, this is the Naimov Baghdasaryan fight, but you can see Naimov's stats up here. Some good stuff up there. Anyway, so I don't really have a write-up for this fight. Let me see here. I know I've got something for it, though. Stick with me. All right, yeah. So yeah, Magomed Naimov was originally slated to fight Melzik Baghdasaryan. Wait, did I get my lineup here? Yeah, so we got the lineup. But what had happened was Melzik announced on Sunday that he was out of the fight with a torn labrum. In steps Felipe Lima, the Octagon bantamweight champion. 5 days notice as he accepted the fight on Monday. Magomed Naimov is 29 years old. He's 11-2 as a pro, and he's 3-0 in the UFC so far. He's currently on a 6-fight winning streak, so he's a tough opponent to accept a short notice fight up a weight class against. Naimov got his opportunity in the UFC when he accepted a short notice fight up a weight class against Jamie Mullarkey. He won that fight by second round KO. But I want to point out for everybody's that's saying, well, Lima's taking his first UFC fight up a weight class on short notice. He can win just like Naimov did. Okay, but Naimov was plus 400 in that fight. I got Naimov at plus 450 when I bet him. Right now, this fight is a pick'em for some reason. So I just don't understand what people are doing here. But anyway, Naimov moved to featherweight after winning against Jamie Mullarkey up at lightweight in his debut. And then he won a 29-28 unanimous decision versus Nathaniel Wood. And he was a plus 260 underdog in that fight. So closed at 350 against Mullarkey and cashed. Closed at plus 260 versus Nathaniel Wood and cashed. And then they had him at almost a pick'em versus Eric Silva. And he cashes on that fight. Silva gets hurt. He steps kind of between the fence and the octagon. He got clipped with a kick, and then he hurt his ankle in the cage. So I don't know what's going on with Naimov, but the market has been hilariously wrong on Magomed Naimov. Not once, not twice, but 3 times now. And now this is the fourth time because they're just hilariously wrong on this guy. I don't understand it. So Eric took a bad step, wrenched his knee. Naimov got a lucky win, but he closes a minus 600 favorite in that fight. But shit, man, Naimov was like, he opened around minus 150 in that fight. I remember thinking it was a misprint. Felipe Lima, the opponent for Naimov, was training for a rematch against Jonas Magard for the Octagon Bantamweight Championship. It was supposed to happen on August 20th, but now he steps in on 5 days' notice, up a weight class, to make his UFC debut in the happiest place on earth, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, against a Muslim fighter. This is not exactly an ideal set of circumstances to make a UFC debut under, but here we are. Felipe Lima is 26 years old. He's 12-1 as a pro, and he's the current Octagon Bantamweight champion. He won the belt against Jonas Magard by unanimous decision back in July of 2023, and he hasn't fought since. So he's on almost a 1-year layoff at the moment, and I understand he's been injured. Felipe is 4 wins by knockout, 2 by sub, 6 by decision. He's a well-rounded fighter. He goes at a high pace. He's aggressive wherever the fight goes. Muhammad currently like at a pick'em against this short notice guy, Felipe Lima, who's a solid prospect, a good fighter, but I think he's in way over his head here. I'm looking forward to this one. Lima looks like a legit 135-pound prospect, and I think Naimov is slightly underrated as a featherweight. There are a lot of narrative issues hindering Lima's chance to win. Taking this fight up a weight class on less than a week's notice in Saudi Arabia, 1 full month before his next scheduled fight, on an 11-month layoff, those are brutal circumstances to make your UFC debut under. And so many people underperform in their UFC debut anyway. I love Lima's conditioning, but I'm not sure outside of that where he's better than Naimov. Muhammad's going to be bigger. He's going to be stronger. He hits harder. He's fought the much better level of competition as a pro. This is a great opportunity for the 26-year-old Lima to get a UFC contract, but I just don't understand this line at all. I remember when Muhammad made his UFC debut, he took that fight on short notice, up a weight class, a long way from home, but he was a plus 450 underdog when I bet him. This fight is a pick'em right now, and I don't get it. Naimov, bigger, taller, longer, has more experience overall and in the UFC, has a high-level background in Taekwondo, competed at a high level in that discipline, world champion for a couple different years in Taekwondo, and then he turned to MMA after that. He's the better wrestler. He's fought the better brand of competition. I love Naimov in this spot. It's short notice, though, for both guys. So there's a lot of variance involved because Naimov was preparing for Melsik Baghdasaryan. And now he gets a guy he's probably never heard of and has to research as an opponent less than 1 week from weigh-in day. It's a fight that could be dangerous to bet on. But I'm not missing the opportunity to bet a guy I think should be minus 200 here at a pick'em. I think Naimov gets the job done here, probably by decision, but I wouldn't rule out a knockout. I'm going to pick Muhammad Naimov to win this fight by decision, and I bet him last night at minus 115 for 1.15 units. I would have went more, but it's the short notice. There's just so many factors here, and when it's a short notice fight for Naimov too, because he was preparing for a much different fighter, in my opinion, a guy who's a lot slower in Baghdasaryan in terms of just in slowing in his output. Baghdasaryan doesn't throw a lot of output. He just throws one at a time, everything with 100% power. This guy Lima is going to be a lot faster. He's going to see a lot more movement from Lima and a lot more of definitely a way more active Brazilian jiu-jitsu game on the Lima side than you would have gotten in an opponent like Baghdasaryan. But yeah, Naimov by decision is the pick for this fight. Whoa. Dogfather, ring a ding ding. Holy shit. Thanks for all the content. Not a better who subscribes to Fareed's Bets, but I want to show my appreciation. I want to show my appreciation to you, Dogfather, for such a generous donation to the channel. One of the reasons I started doing this only on Patreon is just because there's no incentive to do it on YouTube. People enjoy the work. A lot of people watch, but my YouTube channel, that's more than I'm going to make on my YouTube channel over the next 2 months. So thank you so much for the very, very, very generous donation to the show, Dogfather. Truly, truly appreciate you, man. Wow. Let's see. We got Gus saying, I'm guessing no OnlyFans fans in Riyadh. Dixon, probably not, man. I'm personally bummed out to have no ladies on the cards. Easiest fights to cap. Yeah, they're not going to have female fights in Saudi Arabia. Mario in the room. Mayo Rov's in the room saying, what is up? Good to see you hanging out in here. Thoughts on Pavlovich fantasy points? All 6 of his wins are in the first round. So he puts up a ton of DraftKings points the way that he fights. Real Fight Pick saying, thank you, Weezy. Put some respect on Naimov's name. Yeah, the market has just been completely underrating him, and I've keep cashing. I cashed on Wood. I had him as the ass shaving of the week against Eric Silva, and I cashed on him against Malarkey, and I cannot believe this line is where it is again. And I can't wait to cash another bet off of the Hillman Naimov. Clark saying Dogfather goes bang. I have no idea what the elevation is in Riyadh. Is it like fighting in the USA? I have no idea. No clue what the elevation is there. Does Whittaker get it done this weekend? I'm picking him to win. Thanks for the dono, Dogfather, says Dixon. Thank you. The happiest place on earth. Damn right, my man. 100 bones. Let's go. Weezy going to accidentally have next week's show public too. Yeah, man. Okay. Keeping the lights on, man. And Weezy missed his non-Patreon followers, but he's too macho to admit it. And we got my guy Let's Roll in here saying, oi, what's up? I'm doubling up on the ass shaving of the week. Let's go. Stack those flapjacks. Let's get it, man. And Omni saying with the W here. We got Chris in the room saying, driving and saw the notification. Oi, respect fight fam. What's up, Chris? Good to see you hanging out in here, man. I hope all is well with you. No problems. Also buy the dog some food from me. Yeah, man. He's getting raw food, dude. He loves it. You should see him work that bowl, dude. We give him the Ali raw food, and then we kind of supplement it with some rice or some couscous and some vegetables and some berries. He is very, very well treated, and he's a great dog, man. Yeah, and good man, says Muhammad. Yes, sir. Dog father, hell yeah. Dog's the man for sure, man. Absolutely. No ass flavored biscuits. No, sir, man. We got some real good treats for him. We got Parmesan flavored treats for him from Ali as well. Yeah, might have to accidentally after that $100 dono. Riyadh is at 1,950 feet. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that shouldn't affect fighters, I don't think. But I think the heat might. That's for sure. All right, next fight, you guys. Nasrat Haqparast at minus 230 going up against Jared Gordon at plus 195. The fight doesn't go to decision at plus 150 for this fight. All right, so let's get the stats up on the screen. Haqparast is over here. Oh, went too far. This is what happens when there's so many fight changes during the week. Oh, my God. We're still not there. All right. There we go. Okay. Now, Haqparast Gordon. You've got Haqparast is on a 3-fight winning streak. Jared Gordon coming off a win against Mark Madsen. Before that, a no contest against Bobby Green. He beat Paddy Pimblett, but the judges gave it to Pimblett. And he had a really dominant performance against Leonardo Santos. The last fight that he's actually lost was against Grant Dawson, and that was a fight where he got submitted in the 3rd round there. And we see Haqparast coming off of wins, Malaki, Quinones, Makdessi. He got absolutely destroyed by Bobby Green in a very, very dominant performance by Green, and he loses to a stud in Dan Hooker. Look, if you look at the wins that these guys, right, that I'm highlighting right there, you see that the guys that Nasrat Haqparast is beaten at the UFC level, you add up their combined UFC records, 36 wins, 39 losses. So less than a one ratio of wins to losses. And it's the same here at 21 and 22 for Jared Gordon. But it's Gordon who's fought the better level of competition overall. 1.1 ratio wins to losses for Haqparast, 1.6 for Jared Gordon. And here's another thing that I really like about Gordon is you look at these distance striking numbers, right? I think what people are thinking here with Haqparast being a minus 250 favorite is that Nasrat's going to go out there. He's going to use that 4-inch reach advantage. He's an inch taller. He's a southpaw, and he's going to outwork Jared Gordon at distance. But the thing is, over the long term, Nasrat Haqparast lands 6 strikes per minute at distance and absorbs 5.8. Jared Gordon lands 1 more significant strike per minute at distance than Nasrat does, and he absorbs less. Jared Gordon's distance striking differential is positive 1.7, while Nasrat's is positive 0.2. But here's the other thing. Nasrat Haqparast has landed 7 knockdowns in 12 UFC fights. Jared has only landed 1 in 14 UFC fights. So while Jared is just as likely to win minutes at distance here, it's probably Nasrat that lands the bigger shots. It's probably Nasrat that has the knockdown if there is one in this fight. It's probably Nasrat who's more durable and who's more likely to get the finish if that happens. But if there's no finish and this thing is at range and Nasrat isn't landing clean or heavy on Jared Gordon, and then Jared, who's attempting 5 takedowns per 15 minutes, starts to mix in the wrestling, and he starts to have a little bit of success doing that in the clinch, maybe gets a takedown or 2, he could make this fight grimy. He could make it dirty. Jared's fought the better brand of competition. He's more experienced overall and at the UFC level. He's proven over a large sample size of 76 minutes of distance striking range to have the better distance striking differential and the better minute winning numbers. He's just a lot more accurate, 50% at range, while Haqparast is at 43%. So I think that this is going to be a pretty close fight, actually. I could see Haqparast winning a decision here. I'm going to pick Nasrat Haqparast to win a decision. But if you look at my betting model here, Jared Gordon by decision is plus 320. Nasrat Haqparast by decision is plus 125. And, and the bookies have this fight going to decision about 65% of the time almost. So to get that much more of a deal on that price for Gordon decision at plus 320 to me is interesting. Also, when I wanted to look at, let me see if I can find it here. Is there a minus 3.5 point or a plus 3.5 points handicap here? At minus 115, if this fight goes the full 15, I think Jared Gordon can win a round off of Haqparast. Minus 115 for a positive 3.5 point handicap on Jared Gordon, I think is a sneaky look this week. I don't think Haqparast should be a minus 240 favorite. And because he's that big of a favorite, I think it makes that plus 3.5 points handicap really appealing this week. That's going to be something I'm going to look at. Let's see what it is on BetOnline, because BetOnline is the sharper book, and something tells me they might have it at a more expensive price than that. Why am I? Come on. Doing a live show, BetOnline. Let me look at your lines for the love of Jah. All right. So Gordon, plus 3.5 points handicap, minus 105. So even better at minus 105 compared to minus 115 on DraftKings. I like it. All right. So that's what I'm looking at here. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think that these guys are well matched. I just think it's a little bit overrated that people think that Nasrat's going to win all these minutes. I wonder what the finish only prop is because, I mean, Gordon's really not much of a finisher and he's been known to be chinny. So, yeah, minus 340 is the finish only prop. So that's probably why, that's probably why they got it. But decision only for Gordon, wow, plus 160. See, that could be a cheeky way to play Gordon because then if Gordon does get knocked out, that decision only is void. So that might be the best way to play him because then you're just saying, like, all right, Nasrat probably does have most of the finishing equity. But if he doesn't get the finish and it does go the full 15, holding a Gordon plus 160 ticket might not be the worst look there. But that's the way I feel about it. I'm going to pick Nasrat to win this one by decision, but I think Jared's going to make this very close. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the room here. Glenbot saying, do you think Jared's chin is diminished enough for a Nasrat finish? I think it's possible, but the bookies are onto it. Minus 345 for a finish only prop. They're definitely onto it. Nasrat decision plus 220 hometown. Yep. Yeah. Afghanistan based fighter. Not anymore. He's from Germany now, but Nasrat. And then he was also training in Canada for a while over at Zahabi's gym. Anyway, we got There Will Be Blood saying Gordon's a great fight, no doubt. Yep, for sure. Non-fight related question. Do you do anything else for work? Or are you full-time content creator? Yeah. At the moment, I'm a full-time content creator and stats guy, because I do I provide these stats packages to people on the Patreon. So yeah, that's why I've been trying to drive more people to the Patreon because the YouTube channel is outside of today with all the generous donations that I've already received today. It's just not something that's been bringing in any money. So I've been trying to funnel people to the Patreon and give them some subscriber only content and a lot of access to my betting models, my stats packages, my track bets, all those things. So yeah, right now I'm not doing anything else. I'm on Nas, but yeah, the line is too wide. Agree with you, Olajuwon. I think it's going to be a split decision extravaganza Saturday night. There's a lot of close fights on this card. Covert Bets in the room saying, what up, Weezy? What's up, Covert? Good to see you hanging out in here, man. LJ saying, I believe Gordon is still chinny, but his striking defense is just better nowadays. He's a tough out, dude. He's a tough out. TriStar. That's what it's called. TriStar. Thank you. Saudi judges ain't giving an addict the win. He's not. He's a recovering addict, my friend. But yeah, you might be right about that. You might be right. But remember, they're not Saudi judges. They're just going to fly out Sal D'Amato and Chris Lee. And these guys aren't Saudis. Anyway, let's move on to the next fight here. Johnny Walker versus Volkan Oezdemir. This one is very close to a pick'em. The fight doesn't go to decision at minus 200 for this fight. Let's get these stats up here for you guys. Where the hell are the stats? There they are. All right. So let's first start talking about where is that right up? Johnny Walker, 32 years old, 21-8 as a pro, 7-5 in the UFC. He's 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights, and he's fresh off a second-round knockout loss to Magomed Ankalaev as a big plus 400 underdog. And before that, he had another fight with Magomed, which ended in a no contest due to an illegal knee. My Ankalaev, which was created, let's see. Prior to the Ankalaev fights, Walker was on a 3-fight winning streak. He had a unanimous decision win over Anthony Smith as a minus 115 pick'em, a first-round ground and pound KO versus Paul Craig, is a minus 190 favorite, and a first-round rear naked choke win over Ion Cutelaba as a plus 160 underdog. Johnny is a killer-be-killed fighter. He's finished 19 of 21 pro wins, and he's been finished in 6 of 8 pro losses. He's going to be fighting Volkan Oezdemir, who's 34 years old. He's 19-7 as a professional, and he's 7-6 in the UFC. Volkan is 3-3 in his last 6 fights, and he's won 2 of his last 3. He's coming off a first-round submission win over Bogdan Guskov. He was a minus 190 favorite in that fight. And before that, he lost a unanimous decision to Nikita Krylov as a plus 160 underdog. And before that, won a unanimous decision against Paul Craig as a minus 150 favorite. Volkan's a power puncher. He's 12-2 to the KO as a professional, but he's also fought high-level competition at the UFC level and is able to win minutes as well as moments. Johnny Walker currently right around a pick'em here against Volkan. This one should be a bit of a ding-dong. We got Johnny Walker with all the measurables advantages here. 2.5 years younger, 4 inches taller, 7-inch reach advantage, and he's got a power advantage. Both guys are powerful, but Johnny's unusual length makes him very difficult to deal with. He can end your night with punches, kicks, elbows, knees, hammer fists, ground and pound. He's very unorthodox and explosive, so anything that this guy lands can end your night. Now, Volkan's a lot more experienced. He's got 25 more minutes of pro cage time. He's got 3 more years as a pro fighter, and he's got almost an hour more of octagon time compared to Johnny Walker, and he's more durable than Johnny. He's been able to take a punch in this division, and that's something that's very important at these higher weight classes. If you are somebody who has a reputation of being chinny, it's just very, very difficult to back you because all these guys hit hard. So I do think that Volkan's durability is more reliable than Johnny's at this point in time. But these guys' strength of schedule numbers are almost identical. Their ability to win minutes in grappling exchanges, pretty similar, actually. Their striking minute winning abilities, I mean, I would say they're very close there. It's just that there is a durability advantage on the Oezdemir side, and that just might be enough here. But you got to like those size advantages, the youth advantage on the Walker side, the power advantage, in my opinion. But this fight kind of comes down to who lands the first big shot, and that's always hard to predict. When that's the case, I look to who has what advantages and how the fight could possibly play out. You got Walker with the measurable advantages. He's taller, longer, younger, flashing better offensive power numbers than Oezdemir. But then there's the durability. Walker is definitely less durable than Volkan at this point. So that is one difference in attributes that has my eye in this fight. These guys are really well matched. They have similar career experience and strength of schedule numbers. They both have power. Neither guy has been much of a minute winner at the UFC level. I think if this fight does end, it ends early. But if these guys get out of the first, then it goes to decision probably. So I like the fight doesn't start round 2 here at plus 200. It's a trifecta bet on my over-under template or my over-under betting model, which means it's an underpriced bet according to the metric comparisons that my template provides. I think the line is spot on. This fight should be a pick'em, but I'm going to go with Volkan to win by first-round knockout based only on the durability differential and nothing more. So we're going Walker by we're going Oezdemir by KO in round number 1. And if we look here at my over-under betting model for this fight, the fight doesn't start round 2 at plus 200 is a 33% implied probability. About 4.35% more of the divisional fights go over or end in round 1. It's 37% compared to the 33% price of the line. Walker's fights have ended in round 1 at the UFC level 8 of 10 times, and every single one of his fights that has ended in round 1. And for Oezdemir, he's had 5 fights finish inside the distance, but 3 of those 5 have ended in round 1. So 11 of 21, or over 52% of these guys combined 21 UFC fights have ended in round number 1, but we're only paying 33% on the betting line. So these guys finish fights in round 1 at a 15% clipper higher than the division does. They finish fights at a 19% higher clip than what the division does, or than the price of the line at 33%. And the price of the line is actually cheaper than what the divisional benchmark is. So we call that a trifecta bet on my template. It's a great way to find value bets, and my stylistic read lines up with what the data is telling me. The data is telling me that this bet is underpriced, and my stylistic read tells me that if this fight does finish, it finishes in round number 1. So instead of paying minus 200 for a fight doesn't go to decision, I'm just going to take plus 200 at half the implied probability and bet it for 3/4 of a unit to win 1.5. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got Ucelis in the room saying, "Oi!" We got Dogfather saying, "If Nas wins by KO 1-2, I'll donate $100 next week." That would be I'm guessing, Dogfather, if that's the case, you probably got a Nasrat KO 1-2 ticket in your pocket. Good luck to you, brother. I'm not touching that fight, but if I do, it might be that Gordon plus 3.5 points handicap, because I think if that, or that Gordon decision only, I think those are good looks. Covert Bets MMA saying, "Oi, what is up, Covert?" We got Olajuwon saying, "I'm just taking the under. Don't trust either." Yeah, take the fight doesn't start round 2 or the under 1.5. I think those are the best plays for this one for sure. There will be blood. Walker knew baby pissed he's away, but need money to provide. Seems annoyed. Interview. Walker new baby pissed. Oh, okay. I didn't know he had a new baby. Okay. Yeah, could be. That's an interesting look. Very interesting. Weezy would be so on brand for Johnny to lose a greasy unanimous decision, just like his brother Walter Walker did versus the pride of Poland, Lukas Breski. I can already hear Walker complaining on Twitter. Yeah, dude, but yeah, that's the thing. He does go to decision a lot now. When it gets out of the first round, he goes to decision. Volkan last win submission. Yes, it was. It was a submission over Bogdan Guskov. Walker killed me Smith fight, but I think Walker wants a finish. I hope both of these guys want one. Johnny better not get locked out of this one after the fights, because it's nothing but a desert unless he stumbled upon a sand cave and finds a secret lamp. I don't think that's going to happen. Think of this fight as a show. No offense, but this card seems sketchy. Yeah, dude, I agree. It is a sketchy card. Prince Johnny Fabulous, he Ali Babawa, and Cuban Assassin in the room saying Walker bound to lose. Still at the SBG Ireland gym, shaking my head. Yeah, man. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But next fight, we're not going to really talk about this one. Shara Magomedov minus 700 versus Antonio Trocoli plus 500. Under 1.5 rounds because we don't have Bootsy, or that's not Bootsy. That is Maceo. Maceo seems to like Trocoli here, and Maceo is going to be the worst dog-picking dog ever if that's the case. Man, maybe if Trocoli can take him down. All right? I mean, maybe if Antonio Trocoli can take Shara down and keep him there, he can win minutes and win a decision, maybe get a submission. But this shouldn't be close. I mean, Trocoli's going to get dick sawed by Shara. He just hits too hard. He's too good of a kickboxer, too powerful. I think Shara just makes quick work of Trocoli here. And don't forget, Trocoli was supposed to fight Omar Sy a month ago. Pulls out of that fight. He's supposed to fight Aliskerov last week in Vegas. They basically just tell him, like, hey, I know that you have a contract for a fight, but nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about this fight. We need Ikram fighting Whittaker in Saudi Arabia because the gourmet Chechen fucked us over again. So now here we are, and now we need an opponent for Shara because Joyelton pissed hot for steroids. And in steps Trocoli, who's just showing up for a check. This guy hasn't even been training. So I don't really see him unless he goes out there and gets a takedown right away and a rear naked choke. I think Shara Magomedov is going to absolutely dick saw this dude and knock him out in the first round. So we're just going to go Shara Magomedov, get dick saw, KO 1. All right. Let's move on to the next fight. It's going to be Fat Gastelum at minus 230 going up against Daniel Rodriguez at plus 195. Fat Gastelum. This is going to be a middleweight fight now because Fat Gastelum doesn't like cutting weight. But he's still a big favorite in this spot. And he's lucky that Rodriguez is taking the fight. But, I mean, who would fly all the way to Saudi Arabia, show up to a press conference, hear that his opponent is, wants to fight at 185, and then be like, nah, I'm not taking the fight. I'm just going to go home now. So Rodriguez gets fucked into taking a fight that was contracted at 170, and Fat Gastelum said, I can't even make 180. This is not a joke. He's actually showing up to a fight contracted at 170, saying that he's not going to be able to make even 180 and that he needs it at 185. So the gourmet Chechen, Khamzat Chimaev, gets pulled off the card because he has food poisoning. And then it's not to be outdone. Fat Gastelum goes out there and says, let's go. I'll implode the card. I'll show up more than 10 pounds heavy here. So, even if you can't count on Chimaev to implode a card on fight week, now you can actually do it for Fat Gastelum here. This fight, I mean, I am not going to touch this fight with a 10-foot pole. I've never been much of a believer in Gastelum. Daniel Rodriguez is definitely getting up there, but he's always had good boxing. He's always thrown a lot of volume. I think he's live in this spot, but I don't like the fact that he has to take the fight up at 185. That's something that kind of changes everything here, and it wasn't a fight I was really looking to gamble on much anyway. I think Fat Gastelum could probably get some takedowns here if he wants to, if he doesn't like dealing with the reach and height disadvantages he's going to be at here. The volume disadvantage, because Daniel Rodriguez stays very busy at range, and he flashes some pretty good power. Yeah, I think Rodriguez could be live, potentially even for a submission. He's got a good submission game, but, Gastelum showing up 15 pounds heavy. I'm not touching this fight with a 10-foot pole. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm going to pick Fat Gastelum to win it by decision, but no. The answer is no, you guys. We're not doing it. Let's see here. Yeah, Maceo was picking Trocoli. I think he's going to be very, very disappointed, but it's a big plus money number, and maybe he's just like pulling a Yanni the Greek here and saying, hey, man, this is a fist fight, and when you put anybody at these numbers, they're going to be more live than that number. It's not sketchy lean towards those people more than the outsiders. We got D-Rod split decision. Maceo was telling us it's D-Rod, not Trocoli. There you go, man. Justin saying, and then people, Saudi and Russian fighters. Copy that. Dixon says, Gus, Mr. D saying, Kelvin cannot stop eating tacos. I can't either. I think tacos are delicious. LJ, got to give Gastelum a break. He's fighting at 155 the same night, just a few fights. Yeah, that's true. You're right, LJ. I mean, like, never have we seen a guy take two fights in the same night at two different weight classes, So, I mean, I guess maybe I should not call him that. But does Pavlovich have OnlyFans? I don't know, but he's huge. That I do know. This card is so crazy and sketchy, and in Saudi Arabia, yes. It is 50-50, but just because he has a neck tattoo doesn't mean he get wet and excited. This is not a club on a Friday and Saturday. Yeah. All right, you guys, let's move on to this next fight, which is going to be Sergei Pavlovich going up against Alexander Volkov. Pavlovich is a minus 235 favorite. Volkov is a plus 200 underdog, and the fight doesn't go to decision right now at minus 350. So Sergei Pavlovich is 32 years old. He's 18-2 as a pro, and he's 6-2 in the UFC. He's finished 15 of his 18 pro wins inside the distance, all by knockout. He was on a 6-fight winning streak when he ran into Tom Aspinall back in November and was knocked out in the first round. He was a minus 105 underdog in that fight. Before that, he had 6 straight wins over Curtis Blades, Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, the very handsome Shamil Abdurrahimov, Maurice Green, and Marcelo Golm, all by first-round knockout. Sergei's never seen a second round in the UFC. He's fast, strong, and powerful, and he looks to get you out of there quickly, and he takes chances to land that big shot, which can leave him open to be countered. Sergei will be fighting former training partner Alexander Volkov. Volkov is 35 years old. He's 37-10 as a professional, and he's 11-4 in the UFC. He's won 4 out of his last 5 fights, and he's coming off a second-round Ezekiel choke win over Tai Tuivasa back in September of 2023. And before that, he had back-to-back first-round finishes over Alexander Romanov as a plus 130 underdog and Jairzinho Rozenstruik as a minus 170 favorite. The only loss in that stretch came against the guy who just beat Pavlovich. That's Tom Aspinall by first-round straight armbar. And before that, Alex won a unanimous decision over Marcin Tybura. So we've got Sergei Pavlovich right now is a minus 235 favorite, and Alexander Volkov coming in at plus 200 here. Let's get these stats up on the screen. This is about surviving the first round, because we haven't seen Sergei Pavlovich ever do anything after round 1 as a professional. Even the fights that he won by decision, nothing happened in those fights after round 1 if they got out of round 1. So Volkov might have to try to get a takedown here. Volkov might have to use his kicks to kind of try to maintain range and not allow Sergei Pavlovich to close distance. But Sergei is just a problem. This guy he's built like a fire hydrant. He looks like he can walk through walls and bench press buses. When the guy hits you, he punches mud holes into your face. He's got 15 knockout wins. He's finished all 6 of his UFC wins by knockout in the very first round. He has 7 knockdowns in 8 UFC fights, and he's landing a knockdown on 4.8% of the significant strikes that he lands. So basically, this guy is landing a knockdown every 21 significant strikes that land. Can you imagine that? That kind of power. You look at a guy like Volkov, he's got 4 knockdowns, but that's in 15 UFC fights. It's 0.4% of the time that Volkov lands a knockdown. 4.8% of the time, Sergei Pavlovich's significant strike that lands results in a knockdown. So this is a situation where both of these guys have fought good competition at the UFC level. Both of these guys have good wins at the UFC level. It's just that there's a massive power differential here in favor of Sergei Pavlovich. And even though he's 4 inches shorter than Alexander Volkov, he's the one with the 4-inch reach advantage, and he's the southpaw in the southpaw versus orthodox matchup here. Volkov's more experienced overall and at the UFC level. He's the better grappler. We did see Sergei struggle with the grappling when he was taken down in his UFC debut by Alistair Overeem. And, obviously, the way that Sergei Pavlovich is built, he's not going to be able to go more than 1 round. I mean, you can't carry him around that much muscle, throw with that much power, and then also, show great conditioning and endurance. It's just not possible. So I think Sergei Pavlovich is going to do what he always does, remove dudes from their consciousness in the very first round here. And that's what I'm picking. It's going to be Sergei Pavlovich to win this fight by KO in round number 1. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. Fat Gastelum by submission says there will be blood. That'd be an interesting win. Marco Sandoval saying I logged off for a bit. And any thoughts on Sergei's fantasy? Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be in my cash lineup this week. His win condition is first round KO, so you've got to roster him. I feel more money can be made on Friday PFL. Good luck to you. I don't bet on that shit. Santino Couch isn't a dummy. Yeah, Santino's a good coach for sure, obviously, and a brilliant Brazilian jiu-jitsu player, Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. So yeah, he's a very good coach. Muhammad saying he's not built like a fire hydrant, he's built like Guru from GRU from Despicable Me. We got, if the fight goes, we riot. Yeah, dude, I think that the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight is a great parlay piece. Danny Sullivan saying a lot of people taking the over on the basis that Pav and Volkov are friends. I'm not buying it. Pavlovich doesn't seem like the compassionate type to me. And Volkov says Pavlovich killed him in the sparring. Yes, he did. That's all true. Took the under, but I'm definitely worried about the Russian gentleman's agreement. Yeah, it could be. Muhammad saying the under is a trap bet. I'm going to be parlaying the fight doesn't go to decision here this week. I'm not concerned about the friends angle. Both guys know there's title implications beyond this fight. Yeah, they're both going to try to be winning. We got Ucelis in the room here. All right, that brings us to the main event of the evening. It is going to be Robert the Reaper Whittaker. Robert is a minus 155 favorite right now over Ikram Aliskerov, the four-time world Sambo champion, the two-time European Sambo champion. He is a plus 135 underdog. The fight doesn't go to decision for this fight at minus 220. So this is a short notice fight. What had happened was Robert Whittaker was supposed to fight the gourmet Chechen, Khamzat Chimaev, and Khamzat did what he does best, pull out and crater the main event. So in steps Ikram Aliskerov, who was supposed to fight Antonio Trocoli last week in Vegas, but when Khamzat pulled out, they matched up Aliskerov and Whittaker to save this card. Robert Whittaker is 33 years old. He's 25-7 as a professional, and he's 15-5 in the UFC. He's the former UFC middleweight champion, and he's won 5 of his last 7 fights. Robert is coming off a 29-28 unanimous decision victory over Paulo Costa back in February. Before that, he was knocked out in the second round by the current champion, Dricus du Plessis, as a minus 350 favorite. Prior to that, Robert won a unanimous decision versus Marvin Vettori as a minus 230 favorite. And prior to that, he had a shot at the title, but lost a 48-47 unanimous decision to Israel Adesanya. Ikram Aliskerov is 15-1 as a professional and 2-0 so far in the UFC. Ikram is a decorated combat sambo competitor, being a 4-time world champion, 2-time European champion. Ikram's only loss as a professional came against Khamzat Chimaev in Brave back in April of 2019. And since then, he's on a 7-fight win streak. Ikram is red hot right now. He's strung together 3 first-round wins in a row, a first-round submission versus Mario Sosa on Dana White's Contender Series as a minus 625 favorite, a first-round knockout win over Phil Hawes as a minus 180 favorite, and a first-round flying knee KO of Warley Alves as a minus 600 favorite. It needs to be noted that this is a short notice for both guys, as Robert and Ikram both had different opponents as of a week ago. But it's Ikram who had to change up his schedule and go from fighting in Vegas to Saudi Arabia, fighting for 5 rounds instead of 3 rounds, and fighting a former middleweight champion in Robert Whittaker instead of an inactive bum on a 3-year layoff in Antonio Trocoli. Definitely a tall order for Ikram to take this fight here, but here we are. Robert is a small favorite here over Ikram. Pro experience advantage for Whittaker. 16 more fights, 4 more hours of pro cage time. UFC experience advantage for Whittaker. 19 more fights at the UFC level. 290 more minutes of octagon time. He's got the striking advantage. Robert has always been a very technical and dangerous kickboxer. He has great footwork. He does a great job of staying just out of range, exploding in, landing big shots, and exiting on ankles. He has a really fast head kick, and his UFC distance striking metrics over a massive sample size against the best level of competition that the division has to offer are very good. We can see them here. Let me get them up for you. He's got a positive 1.2 distance striking differential, this Whittaker, 41% accuracy and 62% defense. He's always done his best work at distance striking range, and Bobby spends almost 85% of his octagon time at distance striking range. Robert has faced, beaten, and lost to the more experienced brand of UFC competition with the better win-loss records. Being a former champion with 19 more fights at the UFC level, it's obvious that Robert has been tested against the best fighters in the division, while Aliskerov has fought Phil Hawes and Warley Alves. So Ikram Aliskerov is going to be 2 years younger than Robert. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. He's the southpaw in the southpaw versus orthodox matchup, and he's got the finishing ability. Ikram's career finish rate is 73%, while Bobby's is only 56%. And Ikram's a well-rounded fighter with 5 wins by submission, 6 by knockout, and 4 by decision. He can win minutes or moments, really, wherever the fight goes. And the grappling is going to be in favor of Aliskerov here. He's a high-level Sambo player, numerous accolades. He's from Makhachkala, Russia. And as you would expect, this guy can wrestle and grapple his ass off. We haven't seen it at the UFC level yet, but if you watch him on Dana White's Contender Series and on the regional scene, you see Ikram can wrestle, get submissions, his favorite being the Kimura. And when he gets his opponents to the ground, Ikram should be the superior minute and moment winner in the grappling exchanges. So very interesting main event for this Saudi Arabia card. It's a tough ask for Ikram Aliskerov. He was supposed to fight Anthony Hernandez back in February, but Hernandez pulled out. Then he was supposed to fight Andre Muniz last week. Muniz pulls out. In steps Trocoli. Then that fight is, killed so that he can be given the Whittaker fight while he's already in Vegas and cutting weight. And now it's a 5-round fight instead of 3. So he makes the flight from Vegas to Saudi Arabia, and here we are. Sambo versus kickboxing, old school versus new school. I do favor the striking of Whittaker and the grappling of Aliskerov. Robert is more experienced overall and in the UFC, and he's fought the much better brand of competition over his career. And he was already supposed to fight in Riyadh and was preparing for a grappler in Khamzat Chimaev. Aliskerov is 2 years younger. He's a southpaw, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, and his wrestling and grappling games are dominant. Robert's takedown defense has always been on point, so I do favor Whittaker's striking advantage more than Aliskerov's grappling advantage. Plus, it's going to be risky for Aliskerov to grapple Whittaker because if he's not successful, he's going to use up that gas tank, and he might not have much left in the tank for the championship rounds, as Aliskerov has never been past the third, while Bobby has 7 UFC fights that were scheduled for 5 rounds, and he's went the full 25 minutes 5 different times at the UFC level. There are too many factors pointing to the Whittaker side here for me to ignore. If Bobby's nearing the end and the skill set is starting to fade, and this is the fight that it becomes evident, that's fine. But I'm not going to pick Aliskerov with all the narrative issues that stand in his way for this camp. I think Bobby gets the job done, and I think he gets it done in the late rounds by KO. I'm going with Robert Whittaker to win this one by KO in round number 4. All right, you guys, let's see who is in here. Let's see. What the fuck? Come on. Let's see. We got Muhammad saying I'm always against juiced unders, though, to be honest. Yeah, that's fine. Juice, you got to be crafty about when you lay juice. Volkov is not winning, says Volkan. Yeah, I mean, he could if it gets extended, but he might not win, but he has a chance. Yeah, I mean, he's got a chance. Of course he does. If he survives the first round, and that's the key there. Muhammad said he took some Whittaker decision at plus 350 and some Rob round 5 at plus 2,500. We got Moneyline Mills in the room saying, let's cash Weezy. Let's go, Moneyline Mills. We got Mohammed, Bruce Lee saying a little early. A Rob money line on the exchange at Pick'em odds too. Oh, that's good. You got a good number there, man. My guy Kiwi Brew is in the room. Camu Sambat does sound more legit. Yeah, but it's Combat Sambo. You know, it's sometimes I just can't read at all, Kiwi. So, but yeah, dude, it does sound more legit. Either Bobby Knuckles outpoints him or for 5 rounds or Ikram finds the kill shot. Yeah, I mean, like, I think Ikram might be more likely to finish, especially early in the fight, but I don't know how he's going to look in a 5-rounder here. That milky eyeball says Rook Johnson for talking about Shara Magomedov. Bo Nickel was offered the Whittaker fight seemingly before Ikram. Yeah, and he's a smart man. He said, no, I don't take fights in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on 1 week's notice. Sorry. Ikram's submission, says Covert Bets MMA. Yeah, I like that over. I like Ikram's sub at like plus 700, plus 800. I think it's a really, really tempting number, and I might have a quarter unit on it because while Whittaker does have excellent takedown defense, we just haven't seen him on the ground against anybody that was going to try to attempt submissions against him. So if Ikram does get him down, that Kimura could happen. So I don't mind an Ikram sub bet this week. Pavlovich money line, Whittaker Aliskerov under 4.5 for plus 120. I like it. I think that hits. No OnlyFans, but plenty of pullouts. You got that right, Gus. Jeff likes it. Dan saying you're the GOAT, Uncle Weezy. Appreciate all the content, my man. Thank you for hanging out, Dan. Appreciate you, dude. Other than DDP, says Muhammad. And then Robert Saladino says, Robert hasn't scored a knockout since 2017. Yes, sir. He's been in some wars, and he has been fighting the top level of the weight class. But we did it, you guys. We made it through all the fights. I'm going to give you my dog pick of the week this week. The Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week is a guy that's an actual underdog right now, and it's Muhammad Naimov. Now, I was looking at Chang-Ho Lee. That fight's like a pick'em. I was looking at Kyung-Ho Kang. I didn't want to give you the Kyung-Ho Kang money line because I think the decision line is way better. But with Muhammad Naimov as a slight underdog on the money line, I'm going to take the easy way out here. I think that this line is just wrong. Even if Lima is as good of a fighter as Muhammad Naimov, the circumstances with which that he's making this fight make no sense. He would have to be fucking phenomenal. He would have to be UFC ready right now. And there's no evidence that he's UFC ready because he's never fought a UFC level opponent. Just because you beat Jonas Magard, who's a solid bantamweight, a solid European bantamweight, it doesn't mean you're going to go into the featherweight division on short notice at the UFC level and go out there and bonk these dudes. How? You know, so I definitely like the Naimov money line this week, you guys. But that leaves us with one order of business left, and that is Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. There are some good names on this one. You know, Whittaker could shave ass. Pavlovich can absolutely always shave ass. Of course, Shara will, but that's just, you know, it's minus 700. We're not giving that out. You know, whoever wins the Oezdemir Walker fight, and I'm not really confident on who's going to win it, should win it violently. This one's probably going to decision. This one might go to decision. Dalby, Fakhretdivov is going to be a war. But I am going this week with a very, very, very dominant fighter, and that is Rinat Fakhretdivov. I think people have just forgotten even just a little bit how dominant he has been. Let's look at the numbers. Because, you know, winning minutes is something that's not easy to do, especially at this level. But Fakhretdivov is only spending 26% of his UFC cage time at distance striking range. And when he's there, he lands 1.9 more significant strikes per minute than he absorbs. He throws 2.4 more significant strike attempts than his opponents do. His accuracy is above average. He's landed 3 knockdowns, and he's landing a knockdown on 1.5% of the significant strikes that he lands. So he's difficult to deal with on the feet because of the power that he throws with and because of the threat of the wrestling. And then once he gets you down, he can absolutely just maul you there, as he's out controlling his opponent 69.5% to 4.5%, winning 94% of the control time positions that his fights are in. So Dalby's going to need some space in order to do what he does best, but I just don't see anywhere other than conditioning and heart where Dalby's better than Rinat Fakhretdivov right now. And I think Fakhretdivov is going to be dominant. I think he's going to be the first person to ever officially finish Nicolas Dalby, and that is your Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. We're on a 10-week streak. We've hit 10 in a row. Last week, I picked Tagir Ulanbekov. That fight didn't happen. So now we're looking to make it 11 in a row. And that guy going to be doing it for us, Rinat Fakhretdivov. 73 of you still live hanging out in here. Do me a favor. Get that thumbs up button. Hit it. Leave me a comment down below. This was supposed to just be for my Patreon people, but I accidentally made it public. So I appreciate you guys for joining me live. I appreciate all the generous donations from Jeff, from the Dog Father, $100 from the Dog Father. Absolutely incredible generosity there. Jeff K with a $20 donation. And then there was also a donation from my guy Broke Degen, who's a member of the Patreon as well, for $10. So I appreciate all the donations. I appreciate your attention, your support. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Saudi Arabia. Please consider joining the Patreon so you can get access to these stats, the betting models, all my track bets, the Discord, and the subscriber-only content like this show, which was supposed to be subscriber-only, and the probability show, which we did last night. I'll post those probability show notes to the Patreon shortly. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week for UFC 303. But I'll be right back here tomorrow to give out the greasy 4-leg parlay for this week. Have a great night, everyone. Good luck on all your bets, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.